text me that he's unable to make it on too.
Okay. Oops, sorry, I'm on the wrong slide deck. Give me a second.
Technology is amazing. I got computers, screens binging, and
there we go.
Phones ringing.
I have 3 screens in front of me, so bear with me because I just got to make sure I'm on the right one.
And I am the same. I have 3. And my phone. So, all righty. Well, thank you for the update. All 3 of those looked very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing some, hearing some more about each of those projects as they move forward. Certainly the climate change and agricultural land-based impacts on that one sort of piqued my interest right away. So thank you for those. So moving on to our through our agenda, we're on new business, and we'll start with item A, update on the Conservation Authorities Act. And welcome, Angela. Nice to see you.
Good morning, everybody. It's really nice to see all of you as well. Rhonda, one thing I might just ask is if there are committee members that are currently unmuted but not speaking, if they could mute their lines. I am hearing a bit of feedback on the live recording, so that might be best if that's perfect. I see a few mutes that have come on, and if you're not able to do that, maybe we can help. That's perfect. Good. So good morning, committee members. It's really nice to see so many of you. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. It's really nice to see so many of you this morning. As Rhonda mentioned, we really have had a fairly busy time throughout COVID here at the Conservation Authority as we work to do what we're always doing, but more of it. And that includes everything from development and land reviews in so many of our municipalities. I see lots of our mayors that I know we're busy working with on a number of files, right through to the stewardship and tree planting and other programs that we offer. So this morning I've gone to all committees just to touch base. I don't get to see you all the time, and to thank you for the important work that you do for the Conservation Authority, and let you know how much that the staff appreciate you out in our communities and talking about the work that we do. And another thing that I've asked Rhonda to do, and I've asked each of the committee members to do, is to think about the things that have worked well about your virtual meetings, and things that you've liked about our changes during COVID, and other things that we are looking forward to, what we would call getting back to the way that we used to do business. So I've asked Rhonda, I think, to lead a discussion about that in this meeting later on. I do have to apologize, I can't stay on. I do have another meeting at 9:30 with our executive. But I really wanted to take the time this morning to chat a little bit about the Conservation Authorities Act update. And I know that Chair Pemberton and I have spoke before different times about these changes, and I feel like the new discussion paper that's out is very similar to a lot of the discussion that we've had in the past. And there goes my computer and my cell phone and all the different things as we talk about these things. Hopefully we can keep it at bay while I do a brief update. I always do keep these items brief, and I'll touch on a few key things. One, after this committee meeting is finished, there is a discussion paper out, and Rhonda will circulate a PDF version of that to the committee members so you can have a detailed look at what's been circulated by the province. And that's the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. And the second thing you should know about that is you have until June 27th if you'd like to make comments on that discussion paper through the environmental posting. And then the other things I want to talk about where there's been a lot of discussion are things like community engagement and what they're calling community advisory boards. As you know, we've had committees like the Clean Water Committee since the early 90s, and we don't anticipate that these changes are going to greatly impact the Conservation Authority. We see the work that we do with all of the communities in the watershed as important work and continuing work, but particularly the committee structure we have, where we engage and talk to probably at least 50 volunteer-based committee members like yourselves that have ties back to your community. And we've maintained that throughout the years, and I've always thought that was an important part of the programming and services that we offer. So I don't see the Community Advisory Board as something we need to worry a lot about, only in making sure that we maintain the flexibility to keep our committee structure the way it is. So far in my reading of this, I don't see anything there that we can't work with. And I've said the same and as much to our board of directors last month as well. So what we're doing is looking at that paper. Like I said, I think another thing that bears some discussion and consideration is the fact that programs such as stewardship programs and other offerings aren't really listed as what they're calling a mandatory program and service. I think that that's important because the stability for the programs year over year, it's important to know what dollars are going to be available year over year. I do think our municipalities, as well as our local federations of agriculture, et cetera, value programs like we're offering today and the monies that will be allocated today. So I don't anticipate huge challenges there, but if you feel otherwise, I think it's important that you let us know early on that. So basically, we've been operating those programs, but I do think the second point that is important is that there be stable funding or baseline funding as we currently are able to provide through our levies for programs and services like tree planting and other environmental projects and best management practices for farming, etc. So that's another point that I feel is important to make. And then the other parts of it, we, as you know, have a lot of dams, dikes, and water control infrastructure. And we also, as a conservation authority, own a lot of land. So we have a very big land base, over 13,000 acres, that we maintain for natural heritage and other public good type of features. So we are a large landholding CA. So there's lots in there that will probably help us do programs and services more than hinder us. So I do have a fairly positive spin on the changes that are being made to the Conservation Authorities Act. Are they necessarily, what we need in terms of more paperwork while we're already kind of stretched thin on the local level? Probably not. There's a lot of papering over and agreements to be done. But at the same time, if that leads to a good conversation where people feel like they can say, well, I felt like this program hasn't been working for 20 years, et cetera, then we can have those discussions and put those things on the table. I'm always open to having a discussion that we think is in the best interests of moving things forward. So that's sort of my brief comments on that. And I know there'll be a lot of people with a lot of discussion on the different points, but I think we have to be really mindful here that many changes have been made to this legislation, and so far there's nothing we can't live with. So I think that that's important and something we can message forward. And frankly, I'm glad that ideas such as our committees have been something that has been adopted and said to other areas of the province. Look, it's important that you engage local people in the decision-making process for your programs and services. So that's it for a Monday morning. And I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Is there any questions at this time for Angela? Seeing none, I'm going to thank you, Angela, for giving us an update. And as you indicated, we have been speaking about, concerns and want to make sure that when commenting on the posting, as I do personally for many EBR postings, that I have a good, clear understanding of the position of the CA on what's working agriculturally. So if Rhonda is sending out a sort of a summary of what's going on, and perhaps if individuals want to comment, maybe there are some points that can be put in that summary that they should highlight when they're posting, if that's at all possible, that support the CA in their programs. And I too am pleased to see this look at trying to get more community engagement, as taking a look at it's almost like they took a look at South Nation and said, hey, everybody should be like you. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
That's nice. That's
So,
nice, Madam Chair. Yes, and that's what's encouraging about it, and I'm encouraged by a lot of that as well. So I think also it's important to note next year it's 75 years our organization has been around for. So I think throughout those years there's been lots of discussions that have been had. So we may not always agree exactly on everything we do, but we try really hard to come to absolutely.
it would be just nice to see some distributed dollars for CAs that don't have any places to put their funding, and then to those that are more outliers that don't have the funding capacity that others do. So,
It would be really nice to see money for boots on the ground as opposed to policy. And that's
yes.
like, if there's one thing I could say is I wish that the province would invest back into boots on the ground and a little bit less into policy because as we know, people are spread thin at the local levels and it's hard to sometimes be everywhere we want to be. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So again, thank you for that. And we'll, if seeing no further burgeoning questions, I will let you get on to your next meeting. So thank
Well,
you again, Angela.
I wish you, Madam Chair, and everyone else on the committee an excellent and productive meeting, as well as a fantastic summer. But I hope that we get to see you outside, even at the CA. If we can have an outdoor meeting, you know that I'm very keen to get that organized. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all again.
Okay, thank you, Angela.
Bye, guys.
All right, so next on our agenda item is that little bit of a switch. We're going to accommodate Tara as she has to leave. So we'll start with item E, the Ottawa Rural Clean Water Program project application. But first, if Tara could give us a little update about the Ottawa Rural Clean Water Program, if that's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, just wanted to give everyone a quick update. So as I'm sure most of you recall, the Ottawa Rural Clean Water Program was scheduled for a review and renewal. 2020 was the last year it had been approved, and so I worked to produce a review of the program over the past 5 years, and then based on that review, which I should also mention did include feedback from our review committee members. Some of yourselves participated, and our program committee members as well. So just a thank you to all those who participated in our survey. It was probably about a year ago already that we collected that information. That information all fed into the recommendations for a renewed Ottawa Rural Clean Water Program, and that review went to the city's Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee on May 6th and was approved by the committee, and then brought up to Ottawa City Council on May 12th, where it was carried by council. So we do have the authority to go forward with our proposed recommendations and renew our program for the next 5-year period. So very pleased to be able to make that announcement, and I'll be working with Rhonda and our other CA partners and our program committee members to make the updates to the program as we're able to. Some of them will be quicker to implement, others will probably take us a bit longer to roll out, but we'll be working towards making those tweaks to the program. There wasn't, I should say, there wasn't, most of the recommendations were for minor tweaks to the program, you know, some just a little bit of modifications to how some of the project types, you know, some of the wording around the project types, some funding amounts we've recommended increase slightly. We also recommended adding a new wetland conservation or wetland restoration or enhancement project type. So that will be a new project type that we'll need to you know, come up with a formula for and all that. But I encourage you, if you are interested in reading the report, I could perhaps circulate a link later on after the meeting for anyone who's interested in digging into the details. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Tara. Could you send me that link, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
And Madam
Any
Chair,
questions?
Terence Sauvé did pop on while we were talking, so just wanted to acknowledge he's also online.
Thanks. Any questions for Tara in her brief update? Seeing none, we'll move on to the water grants. So
We are
we are
flipping to page 43 of your
3.
agenda package.
Thank you, Rhonda.
I'll be presenting, Jackie. It's
Okay.
Lori. Good
Thank
morning,
you, Lori.
everyone. So we have a few Ottawa projects. The first one is a forest management plan, and the landowner has applied approximately 49.60 acres. So the resolution would be that the Clean Water Committee approve funding at a grant rate of 75% to a maximum grant of $487.50.
So we're looking for, do you want to review all the projects and then, or shall we do it individually? How many are there, Rhonda?
For Ottawa, we can do them individually.
Okay. All right, there's no rating or anything like
No.
that for Ottawa. So I'm looking for a mover.
So move, Andre.
Thank you, Andre. And I saw Francois' hands up, so second it. Any discussion? Alan?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Sure.
I'm just on my screen anyway. All I have is the page 43. I'm not even sure what the grant's for.
Oh,
Forest
it is.
management plan, Alan. Sorry, I thought I had said that.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, thanks.
So any questions, Alan, on that?
No
Other than what it was for? All right, seeing no further questions, anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you.
Okay, next project. Again, another forest management plan. This landowner is 33.49 acres. The recommendation would be the Clean Water Committee approve funding at a grant rate of 75% to a maximum grant of $750. And I must add that I don't have a lot of information coming in with these types of grants. I might get a map. There's no pictures usually, so I'm going with what I have. But I do have a copy of the forest management plan that they present or they hand in with their grant application.
And that is done by a forest management planner,
yes,
right? Yes.
Yes.
So, okay. All right, so I'm looking for a mover.
So moved, it's Alan.
Alan.
Saw
Second by?
Danielle Lafleur.
Okay, Danielle, thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you.
So this next project is a septic system replacement. The system is 40 years old. The landowner, absent speaking with him, because of its age, he would rather replace it now than wait until something actually does happen. He's also looking at in a couple of years selling, so he wants to replace the system now. So the recommendation would be the Clean Water Committee approve funding at a grant rate of 50% to a maximum grant of $1,000.
Okay, so I'm looking for a mover. Alan? Oh,
and Doug.
and Doug. So any questions? Alan, your hand's still up. You have a question?
Yes, I do. What are the guidelines for this type of grant for Ottawa? Does it have to show any signs of failing before you can approve the grant, or anybody can apply?
It is a water quality improvement grant. So, I mean, septic systems are designed to eventually fail. Typically, we have a failing system and not one that's still operating. So there should be a water quality impact. At this point, we don't have any additional information on failure. It just seems to be replacement because of the age of the system. I'll also note that unlike our guidelines for the South Nation program, there's no wording in the Ottawa ones related to sale of house or severances.
Mhm.
I'm not feeling much of a clean water impact.
Yeah, Rhonda, I'm trying to look up the guidelines right now for the City of Ottawa, and I'm not seeing them.
Second, and I'll pull them up.
I have on the webpage, I'm not seeing them.
Second.
Michelle here, while this is going on, I just be interested in, I should know this being at the city, maybe Tara has in front of her what the wording is. If it's water quality, I mean, sewage system failures is typically more of a significant problem if you're close to a stream and then there's surface water issue, but the primary issue with a failing septic system is public health, sewage on top of the ground. So if the replacement will prevent that. But anyway, I see that it's up now, so.
Thank you for that.
So we did check. So we do screen to ensure that the systems in Ottawa that are applying for septics must be within 50 meters of a water body or in a source protection area. So this one is within 50 meters of a water body, which is why we brought the application forward. But again, I mean, the option also from the committee, if you wish, is to defer it to the September meeting to go back to the landowner and ask if there's any evidence of failure at this point, or if it's just a replacement because of the age of the system. So that option also is there for the committee.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Alan?
If I may, under project description, it says repair or replacement of faulty septic systems. This one at this point is not faulty. That makes it pretty clear in my mind.
So the committee wishes to defer or deny. Ellen, you were the mover of that recommendation. Would you like to change it from approval to another decision?
Well, why don't yeah.
Michelle's hand, yeah.
Sorry, I just lifted my actual hand, but yeah, this was kind of my area when I was working in the private sector. It's really hard to tell whether septic systems really, like, for it to be working properly, you need an unsaturated zone below the pipe, and like unless you do an investigation, it's really hard to tell. And I guess maybe Alan's pointing in a direction, unless we have other evidence, such as that there was a study or somebody investigated and started digging holes. But in my experience, you can't really, the system could be not working properly and still not breaking out. Breaking out certainly is a sign that, yeah, it's pretty well, it's toast. But I'm not sure if we should prevent the grant. This is a discussion, so I'm not sure if we should prevent the grant based on the fact that it's not actually breaking out. 40 years is past most life of a sewage system. It's probably will break out at some point, unless you get really, really great soil, which probably not. But anyway, sorry, that's all I'm going to say about that, and let others speak.
Okay, thank you. Francois?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'll propose that we grant the request from the property owner.
So we do have that motion on the table right now, moved by LA, seconded by Doug.
Oh, okay.
So what I'll do at this time is I'll call the question. So there is a mover and seconder to approve the project. So I'm going to call the question. Anyone opposed? So Alan has indicated opposition. Any others? Seeing none, I'm going to say that's carried. So we're on to what page? 45,
We're
Lori?
going to the supplemental on page 4.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, did I miss one? No, that was page 45. Yeah, supplemental page 4.
So this one here is another forest management plan. Landowner has 21 acres, and the Clean Water Committee, the Clean Water Committee approved funding at a grant rate of 75% to a maximum grant of $375.
Okay, so we're looking for a mover.
I see Francois,
Francois?
Michelle.
Michelle, thank you. Discussion? Questions? Seeing none? I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Thank you. All right.
Second, I'm going to switch back to the deck.
Thank you there. So,
Supplemental package page 3 is another Ottawa one. We'll take care of while Tara's here.
all right.
Okay, so this one here, it was a landowner that was approved last November. And following the estimate, she received a new one in March of this year, and she notified me asking if she could increase the grant limit because the price had raised. So basically, the recommendation is the Clean Water Committee approve increasing approved grant limits to the following projects below. 0520 2310 DDA well decommissioning grant increase at a rate of 90% to a maximum grant of $855, and 0520 2310 DDB well decommissioning grant increase at a rate of 90% to a maximum grant of $2,045. The difference between the 2020 and 2021 grant estimate is $700.
So I'm looking for a mover. Oh, Tara? Seconder? Russell? Russell? We'll start this discussion. Any questions?
On the
Is this for the
second
Ottawa
one,
program?
Sorry, Andre, go ahead.
on the second one, there's a maximum grant of $2,045. Is this for one well or two
No,
wells?
it's two wells.
It's two wells, and the maximum grant, I thought it was $1,000 per.
Not for Ottawa. It would be
No.
3,000 for Ottawa Rural Clean
It's
Water,
3,000.
1,000 for South Nation. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Francois?
Okay, thank you. We're changing the grant top up for the Ottawa one only, and is that for the forever?
It's just the landowner is still within the maximum grant. It's just their cost estimate for the work is higher, which is not surprising given the difficulties it is to getting contractors, especially these days. So we're bringing the grant increase because it actually is within that $3,000 cap for the program. So there is funding available. So we're asking to increase within that maximum allowable limit for the Ottawa program.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. Oh, Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick one. So there is money left in the program for that, Rhonda?
Yes, there was a small amount carried forward from a few projects that did not proceed or came in lower in the 2019 program. Plus, we have the new budget approval for 2021 from the city. So there is funding available for that small increase.
Okay.
So seeing no more questions, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you. All righty. So we're back on track with the agenda. So we'll be on item C, the Clean Water Program project applications. And we're starting on page 14. of the main
Madam
agenda.
Chair, I have a summary
but-
report on page 12, actually.
Alrighty. Sorry, Rhonda.
That's quite
I
all right.
missed that.
That's all right. So on
All right.
page 12 and 13 of your agenda, I did provide a summary of applications that did come into the program for this meeting for review. So again, we are going to score these clean water projects. So I did send your score, your voting number by email. If you haven't seen it yet, take a quick peek at your email while I'm recapping the summary. So again, projects must score 21.5 points in order to be allocated funding at this June meeting. Anyone that's below 21.5 and higher than the minimum rating score of 15 will be put on a waiting list and carried forward and dealt with at the September or November meeting, depending on funding availability. So we do have 25 projects coming in to you today. The summary is on page 13. So the requests for grants coming in is 62,950. Just a reminder, we do have 60,000 available in budget today. So the requests are above the available amounts. So we will go through the rating system. I would ask folks if they could wait until I call your number just so that I have a chance to punch in the scores at my end, and then we'll give you a total score for the project. So there's no recommendation on this report. It's just for information purposes.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda.
I'm just going to swap decks again.
All right. So we'll get into the meat of what we do here. All right, so page 14. And who is speaking to this one, Rhonda? Do you know?
Lori's probably the best one to give you the heads up on.
It's going to be me. Hi, it's
Oh, it's
Jason
Jason.
Symington.
Hi, Jason. Welcome.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Well, yes,
Yeah,
now I see you.
Virtually see you, yeah. Yeah, so I'll be presenting these erosion, I guess the next 8 erosion applications.
Okay, thank you.
So this one is, well, you can see in the photos, there's quite a bit of active erosion. The bottom left, you can see the tile drain there. There's a lot of erosion there. Bottom right, you can see the trees are leaning, so there will be a future slope failure potentially at this location. This work, the proposed work, is similar to work that was previously approved in other locations on this property. They'll be cutting back the banks, adding some geotextile and riprap, and additional riprap at the tile outlets. I guess I'm not sure how you wish to proceed with the voting, but that's the quick summary of the project. This is a quick sketch of a location along the watercourse. There's 10 locations along the watercourse.
Okay, so we do have a couple of projects. You may recall under number 5 for our scoring, we do use our watershed report card scores. In some of our extended jurisdictions, we don't have those scores available. So what I have done is I prorated the final sub score to take that into account, that there's no allocation of 6 points here. So you'll see that on a couple of the applications, it's been prorated. So the sub score right now is 19.93. And again, I'll call out your number, and if the committee member can give me their vote on this project between 0 and 5, and then at the end, I'll give you the average score. So we'll start with number 1. And number 1, you are muted. Doug, I'm not sure if you're there, but if you are, you're muted.
For the first time around, Rhonda, if you could call everybody's name with their number, it might go a lot easier.
Sure. So number 1 is Doug Thompson. Okay, Doug, I see you're there, but you might have trouble unmuting, so I'll come back to you. Number 2 is Ray Beauregard.
3.
Thank you. Number 3 is Russell.
4.
And number 4 is Michelle.
4.
Number 5 is Alan.
4.
Number 7 is Renee.
4.
Number 9 is Glenn. Glenn, you are muted.
4.
Thank you. Number 11 is Jackie.
4.
12 is Andre.
Conflict on this one.
Sorry. Oh,
Conflict.
this is the one you have the conflict. Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Tara is 13.
4.
Danielle is 14.
4.
15 is Terence. Sure, let me just check to see if I know he was on. Lost Terence. So number 17 is Francois.
4.
Okay, did I miss any committee members? I have a couple of rows hidden here. No, okay. So the average score is 3.5. So we have 23.43.
Okay. So Rhonda, are we going to go through all these
Yes.
as at first before we?
Yes. So we will review
okay.
all of them, and then I can give
Yep.
you how they shake out on the scoring. So that's page 14. So we can move on to page 15.
Thank you.
So this property is it's a new build. They're building a home, and there isn't a defined or permanent water course. It's more of a ditch that's collecting off-site drainage and directing it to the river. You can see in the photos the erosion that's occurring here. Part of it is there's a culvert, as you can see in the bottom right. They are proposing to pipe a good portion of this area, and then have some riprap at the outlet. And there's a sketch on the next plan or next slide. It's a bit busy, but you can see where the house is built, and then the water course kind of goes on a 45 and then straight up to the river. And that's that.
You said that sketch was busy?
Francois has his hand up, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Francois, go ahead.
To what river is it going to?
It's going to the nation.
Nation. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair. Russell.
Tara. Sorry, is that Russell?
Russell? Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
At the top end of this sub drain, is there a catch basin?
They're proposing to put one in.
Okay. So Tara, your hand's up.
Yes, thank you. I just had a quick question. You mentioned that they were proposing to pipe part of the water course. Is that something under South Nation's Clean Water Program? Is that like permissible under our guidelines? I can't remember between the two programs.
I don't think it speaks specifically to piping. We typically have rated them lower only because we're losing some of the natural system. They are required to have a permit, so as long as they meet the permit requirements, they can pipe. Traditionally, it's been something that's scored a little bit lower in our program as we're losing habitat and biodiversity and some riparian cover, although piping effectively does prevent erosion. So nothing is permitting, excluding it from applying, but typically scores a little bit less in past projects.
All right, thank you for explaining.
Yeah.
Alan's hand was up at some point. I don't know if he still had a question.
Yeah. Alan, do you still have a question?
Yeah, if I can. It was just as part of a new build, I wonder if that whole repair job shouldn't be a condition of a building permit or something, and not necessarily need to come here for some funding.
Is there someone that can answer that? Or give some insight why it is not part of the building permit?
Yes, okay, I'll talk, because the building permit will stick to the
structure
buildings.
Yeah.
Now this thing, Jason, I think you said it was not a natural water course.
Correct. It is a bit of a ditch on the property. Yeah.
So what you're doing now is mitigating the soil surface of running into the river. So there less sediment going down to the river. To me, that's a positive.
Yes, there will be a sediment loading reduction by doing this work.
Yeah.
But that work could also be part of the new septic that's being put in, or other work while they have the machinery there too. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just pulling up just to make sure that I'm not confusing my guidelines too. I don't believe we have wording specific to piping, but I'm just going to double check before we go back to the scoring. Second here to get to our guidelines.
And Francois, do you want to lower your hand? Or thank you. Any other discussion while Rhonda's looking up the guidelines?
Oh, it's Andre. It's in regard to the natural water course. I don't recall exactly if a program regarding the erosion control should be done on a natural water course. This doesn't seem to be a natural water course, just a ditch or a moat, more or less.
So Madam Chair, I did misspeak. So it is actually listed as an ineligible activity, straightening and or piping of water courses or projects to improve drainage.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So Rhonda, just highlighting that, do we need to go through the rating process?
No, the committee can choose to deny it on those grounds. If the landowner wishes to propose another approach, they can always bring the project back. So at this point, we can take a motion to deny based on the ineligibility of the proposed project.
So moved. It's Alan.
Thank you. Alan, seconded by
Ray.
Francois. I see Francois's hand go up. Any further discussion? So in your response letter, you will indicate this as such.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Carried.
And if the landowner wishes to resubmit something for a section that's not piped, then we can also have that discussion and see that project come back potentially in September.
And send all questions to Tara, please. No, just kidding.
All right, Jason, onward and upward.
Sure. So this is the next one is you can see there is some active erosion. For scale, you can see the shovel in the picture in the upper left, maybe about a foot, maybe 2 feet of erosion. But in the bottom right, you'll notice that they are clearing the property right to the water course, so the natural vegetation isn't there. What they are proposing, if you go to the next slide, you can see they are putting geotextile underneath riprap and then armor stone on top.
Okay.
I can add, Madam Chair, to that with all erosion projects, they're required to have a minimum 3-meter buffer from top of slope if they're approved for the program.
Okay. Any questions on this project?
Jason, is this project located near the village of Casselman? Because
Yes.
we had quite a few last year which were not approved on account of lack of evidence of erosion.
Yeah, this is the same location. This one, and there's 2 more coming.
Yes, I can give you a refresher on that one. Bear with me for a second.
Sure. And Alan has a question while you're looking. Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you. Is it safe to say that erosion was caused by them removing the natural vegetation in the first place, Jason?
I'm not too familiar with what was there before, but it could certainly aggravate an existing condition in the site. Yeah.
So just to refresh memory for some folks that may not recall the projects that came in last year. So we did have a number coming in from the same location in and around Castleman. What the committee decided was we did have one project which we sort of funded as a demonstration, which was our preferred approach to dealing with erosion in this area. It is a fairly new development area. So on your screen is the conceptual design for erosion and buffer that the committee did fund and actually paid the grant out on. And it was used as a standard to which other projects in the immediate area were compared to. So we did have a few projects that followed the same type of approach. They were rated higher and approved for grants. We had a few other projects coming in very similar to the one you just saw, which we did rate out, but they rated lower, were placed on the waiting list, and then actually were not funded at year end because we ran out of funding. So this is the preferred approach. So a naturalized buffer area. There was sort of a tall grass area with a bit more maintained grass for a pathway down to the water's edge for the landowners. So this was the sort of standard that the committee set, is what they would prefer to see for projects in this area. And again, we did have other applications which did score out lower and eventually were placed onto the waiting list, just as a recap from last year.
Okay, I see that Laurie's hand is up. Laurie?
Yes, if I may, Madam Chair, there is an error on the project code. It should be 2021 CAS, not APL CW03. So just
CAS
mhm.
CW03. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Now that Rhonda has provided you the conceptual of what we should have and what you see, Alan?
Maybe a question again to Jason. How closely does what they're proposing meet with what our ideal one was set last year?
Well, what they've provided is what you see on the screen. So they have there the note SNC approved vegetation and shrubs, but they don't go into details of the as per the other drawing that Rhonda provided. But as Rhonda said, there is that 3 meter buffer of no touch.
So in this one here, it was the 15-meter buffer. That was kind of the ideal. So anything less than 15 meters last year tended to score on the lower side. So the couple of projects we did approve had like a 12 to 15 meter vegetated buffer. It's difficult to tell. There's not really any distances on this. I don't know if you have a sense, Jason, on widths of any of the proposed design.
They didn't go into too much more detail than what was presented here.
Okay.
Francois's hand is up, Madam Chair.
So, I see. Francois?
Oh, you're on mute, Francois.
Thank you. All right, Jason and anybody else, what are the probabilities that this project will work in preventing riverbank erosion?
It will be an improvement, but if you're left it, in my opinion, if you leave it go natural, it'd probably work just as well in the future.
But then there's no, okay. I mean, there's no guarantee that it could not get worse or better. You just, all right.
Well, I think it'll make it better. It'll definitely make it better.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so the score on this one, the sub score is 15.5. So again, I'll call out your voting number. Your score can be between 0 and 5.
This is President Daniel Lafleur.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a comment also regarding this project. There'll be more places like this in Castleman with all the new subdivision going on. And I know that people that are doing the work on the river itself or the bank, they're doing a very nice job to make sure that it stays and it doesn't they don't have any erosion. So I think those projects should be going on. That's my own opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Russell, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to, in their comments, they said that they were planting trees and bushes which follow the recommended forestry or technical. I'm assuming that answers to have the proper distance away from the water course.
I think there needs to be some clarification on that buffer distance. The tree planting will be just the type of trees suitable for the watercourse, but not the distance. Minimum 3 meters is my understanding.
Yes,
Yes,
and
Rhonda?
Madam Chair, I think what we did last time is when it wasn't specifically specified the width, we assumed it was only the 3 meters. When we communicate back to the landowner, if they can confirm a larger width, then we can bring it back and rescore it based on that. So if we don't have the information, you can score it on the assumption it's at least the minimum 3 meters that's required. And if they score lower and want to raise their score, they can clarify the width of the buffer is greater than that, more what we saw in the conceptual design, and we can bring that back for rescoring at September's meeting.
Okay, thank you for that, Rhonda. So I think we'll just, seeing no further questions, we'll start with the rating for this one.
1 second, I just need to find, now see Bill's joined us again. I just want to find Bill and I have some things hidden here. With me, 1 second. I want to make sure I have everyone.
And perhaps, Rhonda, if at some time you could sort of flip out by email that conceptual design that you showed. I myself cannot see it very clearly, so.
All right. Okay, so again, number 1, I see you're on, but you're muted. So that's Doug. I don't.
4.
Okay. Number 2.
2.
Number 3.
3.
4.
3.
5.
1.
7.
3.
Number 9.
2.
Number 11.
2.
12.
2.
13. I think Chair is still here, or do we lose her?
I'm here.
You
3.
are? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Number 14.
4.
15.
3.
3. Oh, sorry, that's. Give me 1 second. I just want to see if Teros is still on. I don't see him. Okay, give me 1 second. And 17. That's you, Francois.
Okay, 5.
And it's 2.8. So
Okay.
19.7 if I'm doing my math right. No, sorry, 17.7. I'm not doing math right. 17.7.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Ray here.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ray.
How can I get access to the pictures associated with these projects?
I did send them by email last night. So if you have access to your email, you should see a slide deck that says grants.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You better check your math again, Rhonda.
15.5 and it's Monday morning. It's 12.8. Oh, sorry, you're right. This is why we don't do math on the fly on a Monday morning. 18.3.
Okay. On to the next one, page 19 of your agenda package.
So this is a water course that drains a large agricultural area, and it goes in between two residential properties. There is active erosion, and it's been an issue over several years. They indicated that they did receive some funding years ago, I think it was 2007, to do some, I guess, to put in a culvert on the upstream side. Both neighbors of this water course are applying today, and they'll be working together, but they each have their own application. So they were proposing to add stone to this water course. They didn't mention the geotextile, so it will, I guess, break up the velocity, but I'm not sure how much, if there will be undercutting or undermining of those stones. So that's the summary of that project.
Okay. Any questions of Jason?
It's Andre. Jason, you said that both neighbors, they're going to apply under separate application. That's what you said, eh?
Correct. Yeah. The
So-
next page is the neighboring property coming up.
Okay, so one is applying for one side of the water stream and the other one is applying for the other side, or how is it going to work?
I believe they're going to do a section each of the water course.
Okay. Michelle, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, with respect to the geotextile, I'm just not clear on exactly on control of the design of these things. Like some of these things are very basic and necessary, like putting stone without geotextile often is not a good idea. So I don't know if that's something we can request or how that works. If people come up with a design that really is not going to work as well as it should, what are the options here to force geotextile, for example?
Well, you can score it based on the design presented, and again, if it scores low, the landowner could reconsider the design. And if they come back to us and say we're going to modify it and add geotextile, we can modify the rating at the September meeting. But at this point, as long as they meet the conditions of their permit and they get a permit, then they can proceed. Just a note on this application too, the project from baseline, the first section here, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, was a project that was done about 10 years ago. It was funded at the time through us, but through a provincial grant. Some of you may remember the Healthy Futures for Ontario Agriculture. We did fund both of these landowners. 2 culverts were placed at the time it was eligible under that provincial program. So there was significant erosion at that time about 10 years ago. So there were 2 culverts, one put in by each landowner that sort of took care of the first piece of the water course where the erosion was happening. But I believe, Jason, it's starting kind of downstream of those pipe sections, if I'm not mistaken.
The culverts were installed closer to the baseline, and
Yeah.
then now downstream of those culverts, now it's been eroding for some time. You can see in the air photos, and it's off their property as it continues downstream. So yeah.
So again, you can score it based on what's been proposed today, which is the rock. And if the scoring is lower and they're not approved today, then the landowner can always reconsider the addition of geotextile. And then we can reconsider whether we score it higher in September.
I see Alan's hand up and then Bill's.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason, in your professional opinion, is throwing rocks at the bottom of this ditch actually going to solve very much?
It's not ideal. If I were to review a permit like that, I would probably ask that there be some geotextile added as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
Through you, Madam Chair, how long is the water course they're hoping to that they're hoping to work on?
The length of the, is that what you're asking, Bill? Is the length of work to be done?
Yes, thank you.
Jason, can you elaborate a bit more?
I'm just trying to bring that up. It is along their property line. It is a, I don't know the length off the top of my head. I'm just bringing up the site right now.
Lori, do we have it in the quote by any chance?
Sorry about that. No.
Okay.
Okay.
The only thing the quote says is ditch rehabilitation / erosion control slope.
Okay. So perhaps, Rhonda, we can go ahead and score, and if Jason's still
It would
going
be
through
approximately 70 meters, just
70
by
meters.
measuring it off the air photo here. Yeah.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Bill?
Yes, thank you.
So again, this one is an area outside of where we have watershed report card scoring for the sub-watershed health. So the amount has been prorated to 11.69 as the subtotal. So we'll go back and start with number 4. Sorry, number 1.
2.
Thank you. Number 2.
2.
3.
1.
4.
1.
5.
1.
7.
2.
9.
2.
11.
2.
12.
1.
13.
1.
14.
1.
16. That's you, Bill.
3.
Thank you. And 17. Let me just check to see if we've lost Francois. Yes, we have.
I don't see him yet.
Yeah, I didn't know he had to leave. Okay, so the sub score is 1.6. So 13.29. So that one does not score high enough to move forward. So again, projects must achieve a minimum score of 15. Okay. Otherwise, they're considered low priority, and we typically deny. So we can take care of that motion when we get through the rest of the projects. I'm just going to flag it.
All right. All righty. So Jason, are we on to the neighbors?
Yes, this is the neighboring property. Exact same presentation as the last one.
Okay. So we could probably, sorry?
It had the same sub score too, by the way.
Was there any questions before we move on to scoring?
No, it's Ray. I just wondered, what page are you on now?
So we're on page 20.
Thank you.
And if the committee wishes, we can bring the same score forward, or you can rescore it again. It's the same proposal as the last project.
So Michelle has a question. Go ahead.
Well, just with regards to the design, if it's the exact same thing as the next door neighbor, I would hold my same score. I'm just wasn't sure if it was the exact same details for the design. Thanks.
Yeah, so understanding that it is exact same application per se as the previous one, is there anyone opposed to having their scoring move forward from the last one to this one? Seeing none, I'll say that's the way to move forward. Are you okay with that, Rhonda?
Yep.
All right.
Just, Jackie?
Yes, go ahead.
Just a comment on these last 2 applications. Was wondering, I mean, if Jason or somebody else could get in touch with these applicants to mention to them that maybe just stones may not be sufficient. Maybe some geotextile or other measures may be preferable, I mean, to add to their improvement.
Yes. We will communicate that back. Also, we will let the landowner know if they want to adjust their application and resubmit it. You may see it come back again in September if they choose to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, so there'll be clearly reasons for denial and wording as such to improve, to meet standards, I guess, expectations. Okay. So on to the next one. Is it on your agenda is page 21.
Yes, this one is also in Castleman, similar to the one a few slides back or a few projects back. This one, they are cutting the banks back, adding some geotextile and riprap and armor stone. So you can see the extent of the erosion here. There's a shovel in the ground, the bottom left, about a foot or a foot and a half. If you go to the next slide, and you can see where they do have some native planting for 15 feet.
So this one would then conform to the conceptual design, which I showed you in the last project.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the design very clearly. What's prior to the 15 feet on the slope? What's that wording?
Sitting area and fire
Okay.
pit, then
Okay.
native planting, and then riprap armor stone.
Okay. All right. Alan, you have a question?
Well, Rhonda had mentioned that it fits in with our ideal scenario, but I would have sworn the ideal scenario had 15 meters, not 15 feet.
Oh, wait, sorry. You're right. Meters.
Good catch.
Thank you. I'm telling you, my 15, yes, so it is less. Thank you. Not used to seeing feet.
Yeah.
No problem.
Good catch.
So it is, yes, so it does have a buffer, but not, so it would be slightly bigger than the minimum 3 feet. You're probably about 4.5, 5 feet. Sorry, yeah.
Meters.
Sorry, let me say that again, meters.
Yes. So that just is just over the 3
it
meter
meets the
buffer.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's
All
the
right.
conversion factor in our heads, right?
So the subscore on this one is 15.5.
All right.
And we can start with number 1 if there are no other questions.
4.
2.
2.
3.
3.
4.
3.
5.
1.
7.
2.
9.
3.
11.
2.
12.
2.
13.
3.
14.
Aye.
And 16.
4.
Subscore is 2.8. So 18.3 is the total score.
Same with the other one. That's good.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, on to page 22 and 23. And you still with us, Jason?
Yep. So this one's on the Castor. There is a lot of active erosion, and they are proposing to, again, cut banks back, add geotextile and riprap and armor stone. They'll be doing about 100 feet of watercourse or waterfront. They've received funding in 2017. They were going to move ahead, but then their contractor fell through, so they couldn't do the work, so they're reapplying today.
Okay, is there any questions in regards to this particular project? Did you say 100 meters, Jason, or 100 feet?
100 feet. 100 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're clear. All right. Rhonda, we're ready, I think.
Okay. So the subscore on this one is 22. So number 1.
4.
2.
3.
3.
4.
Number 4.
4.
5.
4.
7.
3.
9,
4,
11,
4,
12,
4,
13,
3,
14,
4,
16.
Bill?
Okay, 16. Sorry, I didn't hear you call me. 4.
Thank you. 3.8. So 25.8.
All righty.
Oops.
Okay, on pages 24 and 25.
So this one is also on the Castor River. From the photos provided, you can see in the top one, I don't really see much active erosion. What they're proposing to do, I guess what you see in the stones at the bottom, they want to put the geotextile, the riprap, and the armor stone. So the next slide, you could see the cross section that they're proposing, and it's to the committee to vote on this one.
And I have some questions. I see no in the design buffer length.
I don't have that information. I don't think they gave much of a width.
And they
So
don't
again,
seem to.
I was just
Again,
gonna say,
they
you could
do
assume the minimum 3 meters.
yeah, and then I don't see any indication of trees or anything like that in the design either.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So, any other questions? Lori, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair. If you look at, sorry, just give me a second here. Page 25 of your agenda package, it does give a description of the work. Now I'm seeing, I don't know if everybody's looked at that, but I am seeing some description in there of planning to install geotextile.
Don't see reference to the buffer though.
No, I was just
Or
looking.
tree
I was
planting.
No, you're right. Sorry about that.
And based on the pictures presented, it's very beautiful. Stone. Jason's laughing at me. He knows exactly what I mean.
Jason,
All right.
Jason, Sandra,
Yes.
in regard to the bottom two slides, the big stones, you said the intent is to put geotextile in between, or are they going to remove these stones and put geotextile, then put back the stone?
No, the work is to appear like this. This is an example of what the final product will be, I believe.
This is how they. This is how they want it to finished product to look.
Yeah. So the top is what it is, or what they're trying to fix, and.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Alan, you have a question?
Yeah, just a question for Jason. You did mention that you see very little erosion on there. I don't see any either. Yeah. The purpose of this grant is to reduce erosion, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So I also have a question for Jason. Could the erosion, the minimal erosion that they're seeing, be mitigated through tree planting and buffers without the?
Yep. You could have left it go natural, or the low-lying, like low shrubs, or there's other natural measures that could have been implemented.
Okay. All right.
Something with.
Pardon me, Alan?
Something with some roots.
Yes, something with roots to retain the soil. Yes. Okay.
So I guess given the comments, right now it does meet the minimum sub scores, so we can go ahead and score it. Or if you feel there's not active erosion, the option is also to deny or defer. A denial could result in a recommendation to naturalize, and the landowner could reapply for a buffer grant as an option. So I'll leave that to the committee to decide how you want to proceed with this one.
So I guess I'll approach this is there anyone opposed to scoring and seeing how it falls out? Or not opposed to? Or should
If there is no active erosion, Madam Chair, I would move a motion to deny.
Okay, I'm looking for a seconder for
I would
that.
second that motion, Michelle.
Michelle, any further discussion? Seeing none, then that's carried. Thank you.
Okay, and we will provide the comments with a recommendation for naturalized shoreline and an option to consider an application for buffer.
Okay.
I have to, that's it for me, and I have to jump out to another meeting. So thanks, everybody, and good luck with the rest of your voting.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, for the updates. And is somebody else leaving us, Rhonda?
I think Tara had to at 10:32. So
All right. And Terrence had sent an email that he cannot come back on. So
yes.
So we still have quorum then?
Yes.
Ray
Yes.
here.
Hi, Ray. Go ahead.
I mentioned that I have to leave at 11:30 also. 11:30 quarter to 12 at the latest.
Okay, thank you. We'll try and move along so we can get your opinion on everything here.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move forward. These are not erosion projects.
I think this one's yours, Jackie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture now and going, oh yeah, I know this one. So this particular landowner, parcel land, has a well sort of in the field and he not in use, and he wishes to decommission due to the risks to the activities that occur on this cropped field. So that just pretty much there is a house property severance and where the location of the well is in relation to road and housing.
Okay, so the subscore is 12.5 on this one.
Question from Bill.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Is the severance, is the well on the part they're going to sever?
No, it's already a severance piece of property. He's not severancing anything as far as I know. It's just
so just one other supplementary question. How big is the property and is it a lot or is it a farm field?
It's a field.
Thank you.
There was another hand up. Michelle, yes?
Yeah, sorry, I guess I had missed the beginning of I guess I just preface this whole thing with a dad joke. It looks like a tired old well. But so the abandonment is for sorry, I apologize. I must have missed the very beginning. Obviously, it doesn't look like a good well, but they're not using this well, and they are they have another well that they're using, and this well has been like this for a while, and they want to abandon it. Is that? Sorry.
So, from what I understand is that the severance had happened not by this farmer. He just purchased this acreage, right? The agricultural land, and on that land was this well, right? And he has no intention of using it and wants to ensure that there is no risks in activities that he does on the agricultural land to impact water quality. So therefore he wants to decommission this well on his property.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
If there's no further questions, we can start with number one.
4.
2,
2,
Russell.
3.
Thank you. 4,
4,
5,
3,
7,
4,
9,
5,
12,
5,
14,
4,
and 16.
5.
3.9. So 16.4.
So page 27 of the agenda. This is me again. This is what virtual site visits do. You're not so familiar with the projects when they come in this over the phone. Laura, you're going to have to give me a name or message me a name.
Okay, I can, give me a second.
I'm sorry, everyone, to make you wait.
Madam Chair, just a quick comment, if I may.
Mhm.
When we have these come up on the screen, especially in a virtual setting, I wonder if under the project number, give it the category as well, just so we know what we're looking at. This
Sure,
one.
we can do that for the next meeting.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking this one could come as a septic.
You never know.
I gotcha.
I emailed it to you, Jackie.
All right.
I was
Just
wondering
give me-
the same thing. Thanks.
I'm sorry to keep everybody waiting. Oh, okay. Now it makes sense to me. So this landowner was, it's an empty lot, and he was doing some work on the lot, and the equipment went in through a hole, and only to discover that there was an abandoned dug well on property, and he's looking to decommission this properly.
There are no questions. Are we ready to score? Okay, number 1.
4.
Could
we see the
scoring sheet, please?
Oh, sorry. 19.5 is the sub-score. Number 2.
4,
Number 3.
5.
Number 4.
5,
5.
10.
Number 7.
4,
9.
5,
Not 11 is not. 12.
5,
14.
4,
And 16.
5.
So that is 4.6.
For the record, Alan did vote 5.
I figured. So 24.1.
Okay. So this is me again. This one, as per the application that you see in front of you, the pictures here show the manure storage currently, and they're looking to ensure that they have properly designed manure storage for more than 240 days. This particular manure storage on the farm that they have, then the animals they have, they were actually having to empty about 3 times a year, and unfortunately some winter applications did occur. So they're looking to in their rebuild redo the manure storage.
16.5 is the subscore.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Alan.
Yeah, Alan, go ahead.
Just a quick one. I noticed on your sketch it did say proposed barn. Are we looking at an expansion as well?
No, they're not expanding any herd numbers at all. Just rebuilding the barn due to a fire, right?
And I think Andre might have had a
Oh,
question.
Yes, I had basically the same question as Alan, and I have a supplement too. Is this a dry manure with a liquid pond beside it, or because you do have some kind of a liquid top pictures?
So the pictures that they're showing is their current manure storage, which you know is, I don't know how old it is or whatever, but it is earthen berm sidewalls with some liquid on top. Yes. But again, capacity their current capacity was they were emptying 3 times a year, so less than 240 days storage.
And what are they proposing, Madam Chair? A new concrete storage?
Yes. No, wait a second. A new tank will measure 120 by 14 feet. A bento fix, so a clay liner will cover the entire floor, and a Coronan poured concrete has been contracted to carry out the construction of this project. So it is, yeah. So it is a concrete tank with clay bentonite liner. So. Any further questions?
Okay. None. We can start with number
yes,
1.
Go ahead.
Number 1.
5.
Number 2.
4.
3.
5.
4.
4.
5.
4.
7.
I'm not sure 7 heard you.
Your video's lagging a bit, Renee. 5, thank you.
5, yes.
Number 9.
5.
12.
5.
14.
5.
And 16.
5.
4.7. 21.2.
Okay.
This one is you as well, Jackie.
All right, so this landowner is, what you're seeing on the right hand is the picture of the new well that was done and a picture of the old well. There was an issue with water quantity and quality with the old well. So they were instructed to decommission and redrill. So they're looking to decommission the previous well, which was providing the problems. Any questions? Seeing none.
So we are at a 15.5 for the subscore. Number 1.
4.
2.
4.
3,
4,
4,
5,
2,
7,
2,
9,
5,
12,
4,
14,
4,
and 16.
16 is 5.
So 3.8. So 19.3.
Okay, so this again, there was the problem was the quantity impact. The well was 47 feet deep and constantly ran dry. So what they're looking to do is decommission as per regulations and redrill.
$16.5 is the subscore. There any questions for Jackie?
No.
Okay, number 1. You're muted, number 1.
Doug?
Doug, you're off mute. Okay, I'll come back to you, Doug. Number 2.
4. Sorry, make that 5.
5. Number 3.
4,
4,
4,
5,
2,
or 7,
3,
9,
5,
12, Andre?
12, 5,
Thank you. 14
5,
and 16.
5.
And Doug, did you have a score on this one?
He must have stepped away.
Okay, so hearing none, 4.2. $20.7.
Thank you, Rhonda. So on the supplemental, page 2.
Yes, sorry, we had missed this one in the main package, so you'll find supplemental. Here we go. Oh, it says page 2. It's actually page 5. Sorry, there's a typo there.
Sorry. I'm just
Supplemental
gonna-
page 5.
It's your project, Jackie.
Okay, I'm just flipping through my
Sorry
supplemental
about that.
here.
Yes.
It's all right.
Is this 23, 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as per, so this landowner was having a new deeper well drilled the intent is to decommission the previous well. Now, Lori, because I don't have a name.
I sent it to you.
Again. Oh, you're so sweet. Gotta check my mails.
This is the gentleman that, or this is the person that had applied to the REDO last August, and it sat.
Oh, right.
For a bit.
Right. Okay. Lori, you probably could speak to a little more to that, because that conversation was with you, if you want to speak to that issue.
Just other than he had applied through the Rideau Valley CA because they thought it was in their jurisdiction and it was not in their watershed, it was in ours. So the grant application had sat probably for 3 or 4 months before it came to me.
Okay. So, and as indicated, there was an issue with water quantity. So they were instructed to decommission this one. Any questions? Give it a go, Rhonda, for
So
rating.
it's 15.5 is the sub. So number 1, are you there? Okay, number 2,
5,
3,
4,
4,
5,
2,
7,
4 for number 7.
number 9,
5,
12,
4,
13,
4,
16,
5,
4.1. $19.6.
Okay.
So we're back to the main agenda package now on page 31. And this is Andre.
Okay, this applicant has 2 applications. Is this a buffer or the cover crop? Do you know, Laurie?
This one's the buffer, Andre.
15A is the buffer.
This is the buffer? Okay, thank you. Basically, this is a farm, this is not the main farm. This is another farm that they own. And they have drains along 3 sides of this property. And they like to put up some trees and shrubs along the fence, not the fence, the ditch. So I'm not sure. Do you have pictures of the trees and shrubs, Laurie?
No.
No, okay. I know they were buying some. The intent was to buy some trees and shrubs from a nursery. So I don't recall the estimate. The estimate was something like what, 4,000?
Yes, 4,640 is the estimate.
Okay. So I thought it was, if I recall, I mean, they were hoping, I mean, to have a 3 to 5 meter buffer along the creek there.
And just a note, this is a shared project with Alice Ontario East. So they are applying to Alice for the $300 a year performance incentive payment. So the request is for the buffer establishment. Lori, is this the one that we rolled the 2 buffers together on?
Sorry, Rhonda, what was that?
Is this the one that they applied for erosion and we rolled it?
Yes, yes.
So there was a 3rd application for erosion control from this landowner. However, their erosion control proposed project was planting. So we rolled all of the areas that they wanted to do planting in together under this buffer grant. Andre, just for your information, it does not change the amount of funding that's eligible to the landowner. It just made sense to roll it all into one buffer application because it actually didn't meet the criteria for erosion.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any questions? So just for.
Oh, Russell has a question.
So go ahead, Russell.
Yeah. Yes, I noticed in the existing situation, they said that they planted trees last year, but because, planted by SNC staff, and because of dry conditions, they didn't take. They didn't apply for a grant to do that last year.
No, they probably would have went through the 50 million tree program. So they received likely a subsidy for the planting last year through our tree planting program. I'm not sure if this one, usually we request refills. They may not have lost enough stock to qualify for a refill under that program, however.
Okay. Alan, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we know the Alice one, is that $300 per year per acre or just $300 a year flat rate?
That would be probably the total for all their acreage.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's for the total.
There would
Sorry,
be a
go ahead,
total of 3
Sandra.
acres,
Yeah.
$100
Yes,
per acre.
$100 per acre. That's confirmed, yeah. So I have a question. So the Alice program, they will be doing the tree planting, and this is just for seeding down a buffer? Is this, so I'm clear on?
No, it looks, well, I'm reading the proposed project on 31. So it has shrubs at 3,400, mulch at 500, seeding at 60, wildflowers at 500, fertilizer at 40, and cover crop mix at 60. So they're requesting funding for the establishment and requesting the annual payment through Alice. Now, what we can do if this project does move forward through our program is make it clear that if there's any funding for the establishment coming from Alice, that will confirm that they're not receiving more than 100% funding.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions, clarification? Seeing none, I'd go ahead with rating.
All right, so the sub score is 16.5. Are you online, number one? You are, you're muted.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, 4.
Thank you. Number 2?
2.
3?
4.
Number 4?
3.
5?
Oh, I don't know. 2.
7?
4.
9?
5.
11?
2.
14?
3.
And 16. Bill, you're muted. Okay, Bill might have had to step away, so we'll go ahead with what we have is 3.2. So 19.7.
So definitely, Rhonda, on this one, a particular note if tree planting or anything else is covered by Alice.
Yes. So this one actually didn't meet the minimum 21.5, so it'll go to the waiting list. So it'll actually give us time to, and I'll coordinate with our forestry staff and to see if it qualifies at some point under the refill, because that would cover the costs for replanting the trees that were lost if it was indeed through the 50 million tree program.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so on to page 32.
Again, that's the same owners that apply for a cover crop along with the buffer strip. And the cover crop, which they have seeded down, is a 10 pounds of double cut red clover and 36% of white, which represents 65%, and plus 36% of white clover mix. And that's a sketch of the property. And that's about all I have. Like Jackie was saying, it's difficult to assess a project without actually going out on the property there. But I thought it was a good mixture and a good project there.
Okay.
So the sub score is 19.
So just a reminder, Rhonda, if we could, on the guidelines for cover crop.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
And Alan, if you have a question can ask. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
was just wondering. Yeah, okay, thank you. A question for Andre. Is this actually an organic farm, Andre?
No, not this one.
So do we have any idea why we're paying double for seed for organic seed?
That I don't have a clue. Don't know.
No idea that if he's trying to transition to organic in
So
this
just
process?
No.
Just
I
a
don't
note,
think
we're
so.
not paying for the seed in this case. It would be the performance incentive payment of $50 an acre.
Okay.
And I've popped up the guidelines on screen.
If I recall properly, this is a new property that they had acquired in the last year or two, maybe. And this is just to improve the organic matter in this property.
Okay. Russell, you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. There's no indication of what his plan is for this in next year. Either does he do tillage? Is it would it be sprayed down and cropped, or what happens after the 1 year?
It'd be tillage for next spring.
So it meets the requirement for overwinter, right?
Yes.
Yes, so these clean water does not have a winter crop only requirement. Ottawa Rural Clean Water does. This one, it's non-harvested, non-grazed, 30% cover at least. It needs to be verified by the program rep before it's tilled in. And I see Alan's hands back up again,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
You have a question, Alan? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was just to confirm they are actually going to leave it.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further questions and understanding the guidelines, let's go ahead and rate.
All right, so we're at 19 for the subscore, number 1.
4.
Number 2. Ray.
Sorry, is Ray Stern?
Yes.
3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
4.
Number 4.
4.
5.
7.
3.
9.
4.
11.
4.
14.
4.
16. Are you there, Bill? Okay, Bill may have stepped away, so 3.9. So 22.9.
So may I ask, Rhonda, is there a mechanism that we ensure that it's before winter is still in cover crop?
So before we do grant payment, the landowner must contact their program representative. The program representative, in this case Andre, would go out and confirm that there's 30% cover crop in place before we do any payment out. So that he would need to do that before he tilled it in.
Okay. All right, on to page 33.
Okay, so this is another cover crop. Not entirely sure which one it is, though. Next.
Does that help?
Next slide.
Looks like it's on Romeo Sauvé drain.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, this is this application. He called in last fall, saying that he did put in a cover crop. That was in maybe October, and at the time the response came that there was no money left, and he was asked to reapply for 2021. But the cover crop was already established. And the cover crop, which he's talking about, if I recall, it's spring. Oh, fall, winter wheat, sorry.
Okay, any questions? Russell, go ahead. And then Alan.
This sounds to me like a usual cash croppers normal rotation in much of Ontario, putting winter wheat in, and it's not, my estimation is not a true cover crop as to what we aim to achieve.
Thank
It's
you
a
for
cash
that.
crop.
Thank you for that. Alan?
I guess just to confirm with Andre, do you know whether that got worked in this spring and was turned into something else, or is it still actually a wheat field?
I don't think it was worked in, no. I think it's still, to be honest, I'm not sure, no. I will have to confirm.
Okay, because on your scoring sheet, it does say to be incorporated to soil spring 2021.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure if it was done or not, though.
Okay. That determines for me whether it's a cover crop or whether it's a cash crop.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure because he did call back in February, and this was the picture was taken this spring because I asked him for. That's right, these pictures they were taken this spring. I asked him for new pictures.
So Alan, if you could explain to others your comment on why that determines to you for a cover crop, just in case others.
Well, because you know, if they planted it to hold soil in place and act as a cover crop and feed the soil and all that stuff and protect the soil, they are not going to harvest grain from it later, right? It'll be terminated in the springtime and then plant corn or whatever. If they did not terminate it, then it's likely going to be harvested as a grain crop, and that goes against the guidelines. It's not supposed to be a harvested anything.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have a definite answer for you, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
You do have the option to defer this to September while we get that answer for you, if you so wish.
I like that idea. So moved.
Okay.
A seconder for that, please. Doug
Blaine.
Thompson raised his hand, I see, or is that a question, Doug?
I second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll say that's carried. All righty. So we are on page 34 now.
This is an organic producer, and he cropped, I'm guessing now maybe 700-800 acres, something like that. And he always used the cover crop as part of his rotation, either for beans or corn or cover crops. And a cover crop basically is used to improve the soil and organic matter and to control weeds.
Okay. So any questions, similar to questions to previous?
Alan does have his hand up, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm guessing that since he broadcast it, he's not going to harvest it, but it doesn't say anywhere.
No, it won't be harvested now.
Okay.
Okay. All right, seeing no further questions.
Okay, we're at 18.5 is the subscore, so number 1.
4.
Number 2.
3.
3.
4.
4.
5.
4.
7. Renee. Are you there, Renee? Your video's lagging a bit. If you hold up fingers, I can count. Oh.
He's muted himself.
Yeah, you're muted there, Renee.
Rural internet.
Renee, I'll come back to you. Number 9.
4.
For 11.
4.
15.
4.
16. Did I lose Bill? Are you there?
4.
Thank you. And Renee, you're still on mute. Did you have a score for this one?
4.
Thank you. All right, so the sub score is, so I missed that one. 3.9. Oops. Can't add today. 22.4.
Okay, page 35.
Yes, this is a cash crop producer, non-organic. And what he does, he puts in, normally in corn, he puts in cover crop in the corn crop while the corn is very short in the spring. And whenever he does harvest the corn, the cover crop stays behind to be tilled the following spring.
So any questions in regards to this? Seeing none.
Okay, so this is another one where we didn't have a sub-watershed score, so the sub-score has been prorated, so it's 20.63 currently. Number 1. Are you there, Doug?
Yes, number 4.
Thank you. Number 2.
3.
Number 3.
5.
Number 4.
4.
5.
5.
7.
5.
9.
5.
11.
4.
14.
4.
And 16.
4.
4.3.
I have an unusual request, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Alan.
Can we, at some point, once this is approved and done with, ask the producer if we can get their name shared with the committee? I'd love to go and see what that looks like after corn harvest.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori's taking note. Thanks, Laura. The score on this one's 24.93.
Just to comment for you, Glenn, Alan. I was talking to the producer about a month ago, and he said that the catch this spring was rather, I shouldn't say poor, but it was not the best on account of the dry weather conditions.
Yeah, less than stellar. That's kind of what I expected.
Mm-hmm. So is there a caveat in some way if there is no establishment come fall for payout?
So
They still
again,
have to get the 30% cover,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point. All right. And so then there definitely requirement of a site visit in fall.
Yes.
And Alan, you'd like to see that as well, right?
Yes,
Hello?
please.
Okay. Just so I'm clear on the request. Okay, on to page 36.
Again, this is another cover crop. This is a fairly large crop producer, fairly large in the sense that I think he grows around 800 to 1,000 acres. And this is part of his rotation. I don't think he is organic though.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Yes, he is certified organic. He is. EcoCert Canada. Sorry.
All right. Is there any questions?
Russell.
Russell, you have a question there?
Again, there's no indication of what he did with that this year, whether he left it to harvest or whether he tilled it in or planted in over it.
Andre, do you have an answer for that? Or any?
I believe this was put in this spring, so we will not know until fall. No, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, Russell.
All right. So is there perhaps, Russell, a motion to defer until you have an answer?
Yes, I'll move that same as we did the previous one.
Okay. Is there a seconder on that motion?
I would second that, Glenn.
Glenn, thank you, Glenn. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried then. Thank you. So on to page 37.
Okay, I must say that most of the next few slides, the work was done by the contractor. I was not allowed to go out, which is the normal for the COVID-19 restrictions. Most of these wells, they were either lack of water or poor quality.
Okay.
Or they could be both too.
Okay, so on page 37, it indicates they were out of water quality and out of water. So, all right. So I guess we'll just go ahead to the rate.
So the subscore is 20. Number one.
Thank you.
4.
2,
5.
3,
4.
4.
5,
3.
7,
4.
9,
5.
11.
Me? Are you
Yes.
asking? Sorry. 5.
14
5.
and 16. Are you there, Bill? I don't think Bill's with us at the moment. So 4.3, so 24.3.
So page 38 in your agenda package.
Again, this is a situation where I believe there was no water and they had to dug another well. This is a surface well. It looks very, very nice in the picture. But according to the contractor, there was no sufficient water for the also.
Any questions before we rate?
Okay, the subscore is 20. We can go ahead. Number 1,
5.
2,
5.
3,
5.
4,
5,
3,
7,
5,
9,
5,
11.
Me again?
Yes.
5.
14
Aye.
and 16. I'm not sure, Bill, if you're there. Okay, 4.7, so 24.7.
Okay. Can I have the scoring sheet, Laurie?
Yep. Right there.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that had a sand point within a drill well. And this is the well with no cover. And I guess he just ran out of water.
So if there are no questions, the score is 17.5 currently. Number 1,
4,
2,
4,
number 3,
4,
4,
4,
5,
2,
7,
5,
9,
5,
3.
15,
4,
and 16. Are you there? Okay, 3.9. So 21.4.
On to page 40.
Yes, this is a surface well, which looks very nice on the picture. But I was talking to the applicant, and he said that they just ran out of water. A new well was dug. You can see where the new well was dug in comparison to the old well.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none.
All right, so the sub-score on this one is 20. So number 1.
4,
Okay, number 2. Ray, you're muted.
4,
Number 3.
4,
Number 4,
4,
5,
2,
7,
4,
9,
5,
7,
4.
14.
4,
And Bill, are you there?
4.
Thank you. 3.9, so 23.9.
Okay, so I think this is our last one, eh?
Is the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think it's mine.
No, I
That's,
think this one's Renee.
Renee, and we do have another one after this, eh?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, the supplemental, yes.
Mm-hmm.
At least they put a sheet of plywood over it.
So is Renee able to speak to this, or?
Yes, this was done, I believe, last November. It's a drilled well inside a dug well. And when they had the contractor in, they discovered that the dug well was seeping into the drilled well. So they decommissioned the old well and drilled a new well about 20 feet away.
Okay.
And we're
Michelle
working on
has a question.
Not necessarily a question, just wanted to clarify that this probably is an example of a well pit, which is not allowed under the new regs, but kind of grandfathered, but it's when they had kind of a dug well type of concrete tile, and then they thought it was a good idea for a while to drill the well in there to kind of protect it, but it's actually a bad idea because, as was just mentioned, water comes in and just kind of sits there in the pit. So yeah, in case people are wondering if it's a well within a well, could be, but it looks to me like a well pit, which again, not a good idea.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, Rhonda, we're ready to roll.
All right, so its sub-score is 20. Number 1,
5.
2,
4,
3,
4,
4,
5,
4,
9,
5,
11,
5,
12,
4,
14,
5.
16.
5.
Second here, carry my formulas down. .5, so 24.5.
Okay, so I think we go to the supplemental now.
Yes.
And
That's Andre. Excuse me.
okay.
I can show you the sheet if that helps.
Okay.
I sent you an email, Andre, with the last name a while back, or like a,
Oh, is that right? Okay.
yeah, 5 minutes ago
I
or
missed it.
so.
I missed it. I saw the all the crop. I missed it. I would guess, I'm guessing now, I would guess this is just lack of water. Normally that's what happened with these with these shallow dug well, it just ran out of water after a while. So, but
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
The old well didn't have enough water for the household, so they abandoned the old one, and the new well was dug on the property for better water supply for the household.
Okay, thank you.
all right, is there any questions? We'll do the last rating, I think.
And that's 19 is the sub-score. Number 1,
5.
2,
4,
3,
4,
4,
4,
5,
2,
7,
4,
9,
5,
Okay.
11,
5,
14,
5.
and 16.
5.
4.3, so 23.3. Just give me a second here to sort these. Second here while we get all the ones above. 21.5. Right, so we have a total of 19,000 approved, and give me 1 second and I'll just pull them over for you so you can see what they look like. So these are the projects that will be approved for this meeting. So I do need a resolution to approve the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 projects for a total of 19,000.
Doug's hands up. Are you motion to approve?
Yes.
Ray?
Seconded by Ray. Any further discussion?
What categories are we looking at that are getting approved, Linda?
I don't, let me just see if I have the, I don't know if I grabbed that. No, I didn't grab that. Well, the 5,000 is an erosion, and the others will be a mix that's so
well decoms
well
and
decons and covers. So there's one erosion. Oh no, this is the, is this the
that's
buffer?
a manure storage.
Oh, that's the.
Did you get a manure storage in there?
The manure storage. No, the manure storage is down here. 20. He's just under the score. So
Okay.
this 5, the first project was erosion and another erosion, and then the rest are a mix of well or septic or cover crop.
There'd be no septic, Rhonda.
Sorry. Yes, that's right. Sorry. So it's a mix of well decommissioning and cover crops.
Doug, you have a question?
No, sorry.
No. Oh, there.
Alan, that answered your question?
Yeah, sort of. We're a little heavy on the well decoms, and I'll leave that for a separate discussion.
Okay.
Can I make a comment in regard to the manure storage?
Sure.
I believe the scoring of the manure storage was 21.2.
Yes, so it needs to score a minimum 21.5.
Right. I'm thinking that, do you know, Jackie, if any work has been done on this project, or is he kind of waiting for this grant to come through?
So right now, they're just in the construction phase, so it will go ahead. They're not. They will not delay.
It's open.
Okay.
No. One's ham, one's mock chicken.
Sounds good. Lunch at your place.
Are you sharing, Ray, with everyone?
Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
I'll take 2.
Jackie?
Yes.
Madam Chair, before we leave this area, I'd like to put forward a notice of motion for the September meeting. I think we should apply for a higher grant level. I would suggest a 50% increase. We're looking at 60,000 now. I think we should be looking at 90,000. And I think we should be looking at increasing our payout per project. I don't think these rates have been changed in years that I've ever known. And I think it's time we reviewed them.
Okay, that's something we can put on for an agenda item for discussion.
Yeah, so just a note that we would not be able to make a budgetary change mid-year, but it can be something that we can discuss for the 2022 program.
So for September.
It's something we should discuss and forward to the board for approval in the future. So when they're looking at budget for 2022, then that would be part of their budget.
Right. So it is a discussion we can have in September. The timing will still fit.
Thank you.
So we do still need 2 more resolutions. So I do need a motion to.
So we have a mover and seconder to approve these. I just didn't call the question. Is there anyone opposed?
So move, Andre.
Okay. So seeing no opposition, I'll say that's carried.
So we do need a resolution to deny these two projects, 21 APL 04 and 05. They did score below the minimum threshold, so are considered a low priority. So I need a motion to deny based on those, it being a low priority.
So looking for a mover?
So moved,
Alan, seconded by?
Ray?
Ray, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's carried.
And the deferred we took care of. Lori, we've got resolutions on the deferred already, I believe. As we were going through, I think we took the deferrals at the same time as we were going through.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, we did.
In regard to the deferral one, they basically cover crop, if I recall properly. Are you going to mention in their letter that they should contact me, or should I contact them? I mean, in regard to a site visit whenever we may be eligible to do it?
Yes. So, and we've just, with the stay-at-home order ending, we are able now to resume non-essential site visits. So we actually can send reps out now that the stay-at-home order has ended.
Okay.
So at this time, Rhonda, those that didn't rate high enough at this time will be notified?
Right. Correct. So
Right,
they will
and
be on a
brought back.
waiting list. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what we get in for requests at the September meeting.
Mhm.
If there's still funding available, any of the waiting list is addressed at usually the November meeting.
Okay.
So that wraps up all of our clean water projects.
All righty. Thank you everyone for your patience as we go through those ones. So
We have one more clean water, but it's actually the next item on the agenda, Madam Chair, is a request to extend a deadline.
okay. I've just lost my agenda in front of me, that's all. Thank you, Rhonda.
We're on page 42.
Okay.
And it's actually Lori.
Go ahead, Lori. You're up.
Thank you. So this landowner had been approved at the June 8th, 2020 meeting with a completion deadline of June 30th, 2021. Excuse me. The landowner, due to some various reasons, wasn't able to, isn't going to be able to meet the June 30th deadline, completion deadline. So he's asking for an extension. And so basically the recommendation will be the Clean Water Committee approve extending project deadline for the following project below: 2020 NGR CW08 well decommissioning grant approved at a grant rate of 100% to a maximum grant of $1,000. Project deadline extension to November 15th, 2021.
And I would just add that that is prior to our November meeting. So if for some reason the project is not done, then we still have time at the November meeting to reallocate any surplus funding.
Okay, any questions in regards to this? Seeing none.
If the landowner is waiting for a dry spell, how much drier does it have to be than we already have?
Sorry.
Maybe he lives in a swamp. I don't know.
I thought I saw a hand go up and then it went down. So I'm not sure if there's still a question out there.
Yeah. So yeah, is there a question or anything from anyone? No, seeing none. I need a motion to, approve this deadline, or Doug, I see. Seconded by? Nobody?
Ray?
Ray, thank you. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none. Anyone opposed? Then carried. Thanks, Lori. Next one.
So we're jumping ahead now to page 46 because we've already dealt with the Ottawa Clean Water projects.
Okay.
This one's actually me, Madam Chair. So we did say at the March meeting we would bring back the Eastern Ontario Water Resources Program budget for final approval at this meeting. We were in March still waiting for confirmation of our special levy funding from the City of Ottawa. The city has approved the budget amount at 50,000. So on page 47, you'll see a summary of the budget. It is as it was presented in March, so there haven't been any changes, just looking to formally approve the budget for this year.
Okay, any questions of Rhonda and the details around that program budget? Seeing none, looking for a mover to approve.
Russell, no.
Russell, thank you very much. Seconded by?
Glenn.
Glenn, thank you, Glenn. Danielle, you have a question?
No, it's okay. It's okay, Mrs. President.
Okay. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you, Rhonda.
And we do have Alex online for the next project.
Okay, so we're on pages 49 to 57. Okay. So who's speaking to this, may I ask?
So Alex is online and she sent me a PowerPoint, so give me 1 second, I'm pulling it up. There you go. Very sure I saw her.
Perfect. Can everyone hear me? Hello.
Yes, you're fine. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys just for this opportunity to speak to you about this. As you'll remember, I applied to the committee last June for funding looking at this project that's trying to use radionuclides to identify vulnerable karst and fractured bedrocks in Eastern Ontario. And we were able to conduct our fieldwork in November of last year. And over the winter, we've been able to run some analyses. So I just have a little bit of that summary presented to you today. So if you could just skip to the next slide, that'd be good. So just a quick recap of what the project was. We're looking at karst aquifers that are pictured here on the left and fractured bedrock that are pictured here on the right. And these environments are characterized by conduits, channels, fractures, and other features that can create these high permeability connections between the surface and the subsurface. So where this connection exists, the aquifers are subject to rapid recharge and infiltration, which can effectively introduce surface source contaminants into the aquifer. And so it's important that we're able to identify these environments so that we can take action to protect the groundwater if it's going to be used. And while there are established techniques that have been used and developed to delineate these vulnerable terrains, there are still additional methods that are needed to help in determining the vulnerability of a specific well or of a specific aquifer. Next slide. So just to recap again, the radionuclides that we were looking at in this investigation were cesium-137 and lead-210, which are pictured here, with half-lives of 30 years and 22 years, respectively. So cesium is widely distributed as a result of above-ground nuclear weapons testing in the 1960s, and lead-210 is continually produced from the decay of radon gas, which escapes from the Earth's crust. So as you can see in this figure, both of these radionuclides are transported in the atmosphere and fall to the surface with rainfall, where they have a tendency to absorb onto surface soil particles. So the hypothesis is that in locations with this thick soil cover, like on the left, this tendency prevents infiltration through the soil and into underlying aquifers. But in situations like on the right, where there's these fractures, channels, and conduits, and the soil cover is thin, the erosion and direct transport of those soil particles will present a pathway for these radionuclides to enter into the aquifer. So the objective then of this research was and is just to test that hypothesis and evaluate if these radionuclides are good indicators of groundwater vulnerability. So on the next slide, you'll see a map that is slightly amended from what I submitted in the report, but it shows the distribution of the sampling collections where we were able to go out and collect sediment. So it's a bit hard because of the scale, but you'll see that in West Ottawa, we had a much wider distribution, and then in Alfred and Plantagenet, we had a bunch of samples that were collected in one spot just because there are those limestone pavement sinking stream features that are characteristic of karst there. So in both cases, we were able to develop a sort of new method based on something the Ontario Geological Survey has done using physical and geochemical data to identify domestic wells where there was the potential for vulnerability and also those that we were able to characterize and classify as non-vulnerable. So in 9 of those potentially vulnerable wells, we collected sediment, and in 10 of the non-vulnerable wells, we collected sediment. And then we also got an additional 9 surface soil samples from undisturbed regions in those two areas that are highlighted on the map. And the sampling in the wells was done with a probe that we went through many iterations of. I discussed that at the November meeting. The final version is depicted here on figure 4 on the right. It was basically just a probe fitted with a Wattera foot valve, and we were able to lower that down to the bottom of the well, collect the sediment, and pull it to the top. And after we did that, we isolated the clay-sized fraction, mixed each sample with 2% per weight activated carbon, and then sealed them in tubes with epoxy and resin to contain the radon in growth over a 28-day incubation period. And then we were able to measure those samples on the gamma spectrometer. So on the next slide, we see that we have the lead-210 data first. Each point represents a data point or a sample that we were able to measure, and the line that represents the mean. And you'll see that there wasn't really a significant difference in the mean activity of the excess lead-210 between the potentially vulnerable wells, the non-vulnerable wells, and the surface soil. So this then suggests that lead-210 isn't a good indicator of aquifer vulnerability. And this is likely due to its geogenic origin and the mobility of that radon gas parent in the aquifer system. So as you probably, hopefully, can see in the figures on the right, the radon gas that doesn't escape into the atmosphere, like we explained earlier, can migrate through the aquifer system, and it can dissolve into flowing groundwater, like is shown in figure A, or it can partition into an available gas phase, such as in fractures, like it's depicted in figure B, void spaces, or even the well bore. So this migration of the parent atom creates what we're calling a short circuit of decay, making it impossible for us to really distinguish between the excess lead-210 that's generated in this way and that which has been transported into the aquifer after it's escaped to the surface and fallen with precipitation. On the final slide here, we see the contrast between the lead-210 and the cesium data. And the cesium provides a less complicated source function, so we're able to see a little bit more in the results. Looking at the data shown here, we can see that, as expected, the highest activities of cesium were detected in the surface soil samples. And we also see that there's a significant difference in the mean activity of the surface soil and the potentially vulnerable wells. But counter to the original hypothesis, those vulnerable wells showed the lowest activities of cesium. So, and there was also no significant difference found between the wells classified as vulnerable and potentially vulnerable and non-vulnerable. So we're not able to really make any kind of distinction there. So these results are surprising. There's a lot still to go through in our kind of like after the fact analysis phase, and we're planning some follow-up results or follow-up analysis just to try to see if there's any other controls on the cesium that might create these trends in the data that we're seeing. So that's about it. That's all I have for you guys.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions on the project? Alan?
Maybe just quickly, since cesium seems to be a bust and lead wasn't much better, is there something else you could be looking at to see if we have any infiltration?
Yeah, we also, when we did the first round of sampling back in 2019 in the summer, we were able to collect a bunch of geochemical data, which we've finally gotten the results from with the lab. So we have information like nitrate, sulfide, sulfate, chloride, and we also have a bunch of physical parameters, things like the depth of the well, the subcropping units, the elevation data. So there is discussion about working with Tessa at the city to try to create this vulnerability index to try to use those other parameters to say, okay, do we see other trends in the vulnerability that maybe our radionuclides just don't pick up? Then those parameters are those known indicators of vulnerability. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation, and
thank you. Yeah.
Look forward to hearing more. Okay. Next on the agenda, you still there, Rhonda?
Sorry, I was muted.
That's all right.
Sorry, there is a resolution on the top of page 43. Should also be showing on your screen
yep,
as
thank
well.
You. So the recommendation is the Clean Water Committee approve the final report and expenditures of $3,000 for the use of radion, I can't even say that word, to identify vulnerable fractured karst bedrock aquifers in Eastern Ontario. So I see a hand up, Doug. I say so move. Seconded by
Alan.
Alan. Thank you, Alan. Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Carried. Thank you. Okay. So we're on agenda item 7H, pages 58 to 60, and it's the Eastern Ontario Water Resources Program proposals.
So again, just a note for Bill. Francois has left us already, but because you're a board member and the application is coming from South Nation, you will be considered in conflict for this one, so we'll not be voting on the projects. So again, we do have 2 applications that were submitted under the Eastern Ontario Water Resources Program for this year. Both are from South Nation. None of the other usual applicants did submit. I did talk to several of them this spring. So we do have a rating system. You can hear the project proposals and decide if you want to rate, or because we have enough funding to meet the demand, you can also choose to make a decision to approve or not. So we have the rating system set up, but given that we only have 2 applications and available funding, you may choose to do a straight approval, deferral, denial on these 2. And if they're both approved, there's still a small amount of funding still in the budget that could be available for anyone that wants to apply at the September meeting.
Okay. So let's go ahead with the projects.
And Alan has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alan. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Just a quick question, Rhonda. Any of the other folks that you talked to, did they intend to put in an application, or they just didn't have time, or?
No, they indicated that they were not applying this year. So
Okay.
we can do another reach out in advance of the September meeting, but it didn't sound like there was interest at this point for the other usual players to submit.
Rhonda, do you feel that like COVID has caused some reason like that? I'm thinking like the Children's Water Festival and those other ones that usually come in.
So Lexi will have an update on this year's project on the supplemental. I thought we might get an application, but we didn't. I don't know if Lexi has a comment as far as the River Institute.
I'm here. I can speak to that if
Perfect.
you want. So because we had deferred the funding from last year to this year's water festival, and we were only doing the one, we weren't going to like apply again for this year's grant because the water festival is already funded from last year's grant, and we're not doing another one later this year. And just with all of the things that we have going on right now, we didn't want to just like apply for another project because it would have been a project that we were just coming up with to apply for the funding, and we're really busy, and we just didn't want to pursue that route. So that's why we personally didn't put in an application for this year.
Thank you, Lexi. Okay, Rhonda.
So first up, it's actually Kat's going to present. Kat, did you have a deck, or I can remember on this one. I can stop sharing if you need to.
Sure, Rhonda. I did prepare a couple slides.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing, and you should be able to now.
Still on the meeting? Yep. Did you get through?
And I would just, Doug, I'm going to mute you because your microphone's still live.
There was no offer of sandwiches there.
No. Okay, Kat, we are seeing your screen.
You can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much. Once again, my name is Kat Watson. I'm a water resources specialist with South Nation Conservation, and I work in the engineering department, and we've prepared a couple of project proposals for consideration under the Eastern Ontario Water Resources Program grant. So the first project is titled assessing future flood vulnerability in the South Nation River watershed. This project largely continues from the work that we completed or are completing in 2020 and 2021 under the Water Budget and Climate Change Vulnerability Project. And I'll go through that in a couple slides. But we are requesting $10,000 from EWRP for this project. We do have currently $10,000 in the budget to complete this project for a total budget of $20,000. And our anticipated timeline would be a completion date of June 2022. So just to give again a quick summary of what that phase 1 project, I guess the deliverables as part of that project. We have a really innovative surface-subsurface hydrologic model that was created by Quanti back in 2017. And we use that model for our flood forecasting and warning. So that model takes existing watershed conditions, pushes in weather forecasts, and then simulates changes to river flows about a week in advance for use in our flood forecasting and warning. So under the phase 1 of the project, we worked with a Quanti to update this model and to allow it to accept some different inputs. One of those being changes in precipitation. So we use the University of Waterloo intensity, duration, frequency, climate change tool, and looked at forecasted changes to precipitation out to 2050 and 2080. And then we modeled using those increases in precipitation storm events at all of our 4th order catchments. So that's about 80 different catchments across the watershed. The other input that we looked at was changes in land use. And for this one, we had current land use raster, which you can see on the screen. And then we had a 2050 and 2100 land use raster that was developed by Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. That was a modeling exercise based on changes in land use that they've seen over the, I don't remember over the, how far back it looked, but it forecasted out future changes out again to 2050 and 2100. So we use those combinations and changes to precipitation and changes to land use to look at all approximately 80 of our catchments to see how those are going to impact stream flows. And for this this slide here, the blue line represents existing stream flows for the South Nation River at Plantagenet using a 1 in 100 year storm. And then the red line depicts what changes we would see in flow if we were still using that 2020 land use raster, but looking at a 30% increase of precipitation to intensity, duration, and frequency curves. So the next step in this, we want to take those changes in the flow regimes for all of our catchments, and we want to take a look at existing floodplain mapping products that we have and remodel those using some of these increases to see again what impacts that might occur within our floodplains, and then to assess if there's any changes to those flood lines, and to assess what kind of vulnerability we're looking at in terms of people and their property. The second, okay, so I had a slide here just to kind of depict the yellow line here again, the yellow polygon is a 100-year event, and for most of those floodplains, again, we have several within the city of Ottawa and several within the United Counties of Prescott Russell. for these, we do have 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, 100, and 350 year floodplains updated for many of these catchments. And again, we'd be taking these new flood regimes and looking at impacts to flood lines. The other, or I guess the second part of this project would be going back to those land use rasters and looking at some of the catchments that are more vulnerable than others, and basically kind of altering rasters or land use within those rasters to see if we can mitigate some of those increases in flow by maybe strategically adding riparian cover back in, or adding in some wetlands or forest cover. And we want to see how that impacts those increases in flows. So for deliverables for this project, what we'd like to do is then use some of this information when we look at future catchment studies or subwatershed plans. We can look at what potential impacts could be to flow regimes within these rivers, and then we could look at potential mitigations. We would be looking to share this information with the committee, with our board of directors, with our neighboring CAs, and also presenting at some conferences, including the geoscience to the geosciences group. And that completes the proposal for this project. Again, we're requesting $10,000. We currently have $10,000 in the budget for a total project cost of $20,000.
Thank you, Kat. Is there any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
How does the figure of 10,000 match in with the detailed budget that we have on page 60?
Whoops, sorry, I don't have it.
On page 60, I see program funding of 12,000, lead partner funding of 12,000 for a total of 24,000.
Oh, that's for the climate change. I think that might be for my next proposal.
No, it's
No,
for
no,
this one, Kat. Is that a typo, perhaps? It is showing 12,000 request on the page 60.
Page 60. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll have to sorry. I believe for this project we were looking at a request of 10,000 and a request of 12,000 for the next project.
Okay.
Yes, I do have on page 61 a request for 12. Yeah. And the budget does reflect that. So the budget on page 60 just needs to be adapted. So 2,000 would come out of the first line for program funding to bring that down to 10K.
So just for clarification, that is an error in the submission and will be amended. Yes. And the request is still confirmed at 10,000.
Correct. So Madam Chair, we have a couple of options here. So we can either go ahead and rate the projects. You can hear the second one and then make a decision. So I'll throw it out there if the committee wishes to use the rating system that we have in place. If you wish to hear the second project before you make a decision on either.
I'm just going to make there's only 2 projects here on the table today, so we'll hear the second project and then we'll have a discussion.
So you'll find the next projects starting on page 61 of your agenda package.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The second project is for a South Nation climate station. We are requesting $12,000 from the Eastern Ontario Water Resources Program. We have $12,000 in the budget for a total project cost of $24,000. So we know we've been working on I guess, updating our climate stations for the past 5 years. We know that having access to timely, accurate, and reliable data is really essential for our flood forecasting and warning program. And within that program, we look to capture all of the different components of the terrestrial water cycle. So all of the components that you see here on the screen are programs that we collect data for. And the climate stations will capture precipitation information, soil moisture information, as well as, in some cases, groundwater levels. So here's a picture of a climate station install that we have. You can see this is the all-weather precipitation gauge. At this station, we monitor temperature, barometric pressure, humidity, and this is a picture of the data logger that we have on site that accepts all the sensors, backs up the data, and then assists with transmitting that information over the GO satellite network. So data that we collect at these stations is really timely. It's transmitted during a 10-second window every hour and is captured in SNC's water information system back at the office. So we're looking at having access to near real-time information. Again, we've been trying to improve our climate station network over the last number of years. This is a map of distribution of many of our stations across the jurisdiction. We do make use of 3 Environment Canada and climate change stations in Ottawa, Brockville, and Cornwall. And we've been working to well, not only fill in some data gaps, but also switch some equipment out that might be a bit outdated. So the 2, we're looking at 2 potential locations. We've worked with a landowner along the St. Lawrence River in the community of Maitland. I have to mention this station here, we had a tipping bucket on a well, but this station is not capturing good precipitation information. So we'd be looking at developing a data collection platform right along the St. Lawrence River in Maitland. The second option that we're looking at is a location within the city of Clarence Rockland along the Ottawa River. We have, again, we've been installing these stations now for the last few years. We know that $24,000 is a really accurate budget in terms of purchasing of equipment and installation. In terms of how this data gets communicated, this is something that we've been working on, is getting all of our stations up on the website so that people can get access to this real-time information. This web page has been completed. We're just working with Nova Networks to get it posted to our website. And again, this information helps with our with defining our flood forecasting and warning and low water response or helps with those programs. And oh, just one last slide here. When you select one of these stations, you can get information, or it drills down into the data, and you can change what time horizon you're interested in, and it plots out the information that you might be interested in. So we would have this available for the new climate station. Okay. And that's the end of that presentation.
Is there any questions in regards to that for Kat?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Kat, on page 62, you mentioned locations in Maynard twice. Is that a misprint? Should that have been Maitland?
That, yes. Well, I say Maynard. Okay, sorry. It's Maitland, yes.
It's in Maitland?
It's in Maitland. It's right along the St. Lawrence River. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Maybe just one, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure, go ahead, Alan.
Would both of these projects go ahead without funding from here?
I believe, well, for the climate station, again, we do have some funding in the budget for that. So that funding would maybe not be used to create a new station. It would maybe be used to update some equipment on an existing station, because they do cost about $24,000 for a brand new station and install. For the water budget project, again, I believe it would move forward in some capacity. Just again, trying to build on some of the existing products that we have, but we'd have to scale back.
Okay. Any further questions of Kat?
Madam Chair, if we're going to approve the two of them together, I'd like clarification on number 4 on page 58 versus 10 on 60. Kat, if you actually need 12,000, should we say that on number 4 we're 10,000? That's a misprint, and we should have 12,000 in there?
I am. I would have, to be honest, I'd have to go back and look at what I did there in terms of looking at our existing budget for the water budget.
I don't want to see you underfunded.
Kat, what's the timeline on the first project?
The first project, so we'd be looking at starting to, so we have pardon me, we have those increases to flow regimes. We have that data available to us now. So we were looking at starting to update flow regime information in those floodplain models this summer. So it would probably be a June or a July, sorry, to August for updating all those floodplain models.
Impact on project timeline if we deferred the first one to September for clarification on budget.
I think we could, I think we could still, again, move forward in some capacity for that project and bring it back to the September meeting.
Okay. Is there opportunity to get clarification prior and just do?
The option could be to approve, if you wish to approve it at 10, And then if it's actually 12, a request could come back for an increase in September. By then we would know if there were any other participants interested in applying for the small amount of funding that's still available. So that's an option, approving it at 10 if you so wish. And then if that number should be 12, well, we can make a case in September on whether or not the committee feels that the increase is warranted.
Madam Chair, through you, it's Bill. Is there time to go ahead with the project if it was postponed till the fall meeting?
Kat had indicated that she would be able to go ahead in some sort of limited capacity, I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
I would be in favor of approving the 10, and then if it's more than 10, come back for more discussion, and that would sort of give us the opportunity to move.
Okay. Alan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a comment, I guess. I'm a little uncomfortable with doling out all or a significant portion, 90% of our funding at the first meeting and to only one entity. I would feel much more comfortable maybe giving half now and half at a September meeting. And the first project that, well, both projects that Kat has proposed are excellent projects. The first one, I feel maybe could be funded through South Nation's existing structure and levy dollars. Doesn't necessarily need money coming from EO work. The climate station one, it could too, but I would be more inclined to support that one at this time.
Okay. So with those thoughts on the table, perhaps we should, since we've heard both, we can rate them, right? And see where they fall out. There is a threshold level, if I'm understand too, Rhonda.
Yes.
And that's,
pull that up for you.
And that's just our process for these projects.
So this one doesn't have a threshold, but it does have. Usually, what we do is fund it, and then those with the higher priority would be the ones funded. So I have the criteria up on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 categories in which we rate the projects. The first being a score out of 10, the second being a score out of 5, and the third being a score out of 5.
So just maybe a show of hands if everybody's comfortable in rating or at this time. I see one hand, 2, Doug's 3, yeah, Alan's, okay. So it looks that's the way we should go. So we'll start with the rating process on the first project presented.
Okay, so same voting numbers as before. So the first project is the flood vulnerability. So again, the first category out of 10 points, number 1.
Five.
Number 2. Do we still have Ray? Looks like we lost Ray. Okay. Number 3.
5.
4.
I have number 4. Sorry.
Yes, you are.
I'm confused because we're rating out of 5.
No, the rating is out of 10.
Out of 10.
I just want to make sure that the members are, you see, we came out of a rating system that went up to 5, and I just want to make sure people aren't confused. I'm voting 10 on this one.
So what's on your screen, Michelle, is there's 3 categories that we're going to vote on, and this one's out of 10, and it's the relevance to the earworms, goals, and recommendations. And in the application that Kat has provided, she indicates the number of relevance in the application. Has everybody seen that? Am I misspeaking?
Russell does have his hand up, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Russell. Go ahead, Russell.
He's on mute.
Oh, you're on mute,
Forgot
Russell.
to unmute. Okay. Okay now. I was
Yep, I can.
confused the same as rating under 5, not as according to the chart.
No. So
I'd
as
like to,
you can
change what my scoring was.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
I will go to 10 on that first.
Okay. Doug, are you fine with the score you provided?
Rhonda, may I
you're on
make a
mute, Doug.
suggestion?
Sorry.
Rhonda, may I make a suggestion? Rather than going through everybody 3 times, could just one person have?
Oh,
you know,
all 3?
Russ?
Yep. Sure. Okay, so Doug, we'll go back to you. So your score out of 5 points for, sorry, out of 10 points for the first one, are you still good with 5?
No, 10.
10, okay. And then the second category, the project location, score is out of 5.
You're on mute, Doug.
10, 5, and 5.
Thank you. Number 3, your 3 scores.
What?
Oh,
What are
you're
the-
on mute also.
Sorry, 10, 5, and 5.
Number 4, your 3
10,
scores.
5, 5.
Okay. Number 5.
5, 2, and 2.
Number, hang on a second. That person's not here. Number 7. That's you, Renee. Not sure if your video is frozen or I'll come back to you, Renee. Number 9.
10, 5, and 4.
Thank you. Number 11. Jackie.
Oh, sorry. 10, 4, and 3.
Okay. 12. Andre, you're muted.
10, 5, and 4.
You. This is not here. Number 14.
10, 4, and 4.
And I think that's everyone. Bill, you are considered in conflict because you're on the board. So I'm just going to go back to Renee. Renee, did you have a vote for the 3? I can't tell if your video is frozen on my screen or not.
I think he's having lunch.
I think his video might have frozen. Okay, so
Yeah. And Russell, you voted for 3?
Yep.
Okay.
I have everyone. Okay, so that takes care of the first project. So the second project, the climate station, we'll do the same thing. Doug, your 3 scores out of 10, 5, and 5.
10, 5, and 5.
Number 3.
10, 5, 5.
Number 4.
10, 5, 5.
Number 5.
Let's do a 7, 2, 4.
Number 7, Renee. I don't know. You look like you're still frozen on my screen. We'll go to number 9.
10, 5, or 5.
11. Oh, you're muted, Jackie.
So I'm going to say 10, 5, and 4.
Number 12. Oh.
10, 5, and 4.
Okay. And 14.
10, 5, 5.
All right, so we've got a score of 17.8 for the first project and 18.9 for the second.
So I'm looking at the scorings, you know, they seem pretty high. I'm hearing Alan's concern that the projects are both within South Nation and questioning whether they're budget items within the South Nation budget. I'm conflicted on how to move forward with this. Whether we vote on them individually. Mover and seconder for both. I'm open for discussion here.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the second one and defer the first one until a September meeting.
Okay.
Doug, you seconding that?
Yes.
Okay.
A question from Bill. Is that not almost two motions?
We could do and further that.
Could. Are you okay with that? Everyone okay with that motion, or the mover okay with that motion?
Read it back to me so we're clear, please.
So it'll be that the Clean Water Committee approves funding to the name of the first project, sorry, this one to South Nation Conservation Climate Station at $12,000. And further that the Clean Water Committee defer project assessing flood vulnerability in the South Nation River watershed to the September meeting.
May I suggest with some clarification on budget?
Yes, we can make a note of that.
Okay. So we have a mover and seconder. Are you okay with those motions?
I think that's fine. I just want to be clear that my reason for deferral to September is not just budgetary, but I want to see if anything else comes in before we approve it.
Understanding. Okay, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that's carried, and thank you for your patience through this.
So we do have Lexi patiently waiting with one final report, Madam Chair, on the supplemental agenda.
Okay, sorry to keep you waiting, Lexi.
That's okay.
And you're ready. You're ready to go.
Yeah, I didn't send in any slides or anything, but I figured I'd just give you guys the report update on how our water festival did go this year. So when we asked for an extension, it was because we ended up not doing a festival at all last year because of COVID. And we decided this year that we would do a totally virtual one. So we did 2 separate days on May 13th, I believe we did the English one, and we just did the French one on June 3rd, which was a bit of a scramble. We didn't initially plan to do 2 days, but since it was a full day live stream, we realized it wasn't really feasible to do a combined French-English one on the same day, so we added the second day. And I'm glad that we did, because we actually got like double the registrations for the French one than we did for the English one. So we got a ton of participants. I think we in total had about 600 students and teachers from Eastern Ontario join on, in total from those 2 days, which was super awesome. So the live stream was on YouTube, but also that YouTube video was embedded on the Water Festival website. So we developed a new website, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while, but was really important for the virtual festival. And then the teachers either provided the links to our website or the YouTube link to their students, or just screen shared the stream from their own computer. The students that did get to watch the live stream directly had a lot of comments on the YouTube video as we were going through, which is really nice to see all of those interactions from students. And actually for the French one, we added, since we noticed the students really liked to comment emojis in the comments on the YouTube stream. We added emojis for the second one. So we would hold up a picture of an emoji and say, the emoji for this video is a water drop. If you think water is important, comment a water drop in the chat. And the kids really liked that. So it was really fun to see all those interactions from students. And we did a combination of pre-recorded videos that Institute staff had filmed, guest presenters filmed and sent in videos, and we had the Totally Turtles from South Nation. We had the Prescott Fire Department send in a really great video of them showing how the fire truck worked, and the kids really liked that. And Junkyard Symphony were like a few of the presenters that we had. And then to try and incorporate the high school students that normally would be the presenters in our in-person festival of all of the different stations, we sent out a call for high school students to submit their own videos that they've filmed about water education. We got 4 videos from Holy Trinity students. And then we got some really cool interactive presentations from École Secondaire Catholique de Castleman, which they come every single year. Melanie Gauthier is one of the teachers there, and she always brings students. So we were super happy to have them again this year in that sort of context. So I think we had a really great variety of topics and formats for the teachers to share with the students. We did prep kits because our original plan was when we were planning the festival, the teachers were still in class with students, so we were hoping to drop off kits with materials for the teachers to participate in class. And since they're all at home now, we didn't get to do that, but we still will be delivering all of the kits to the teachers who are registered. And we did pick a few prizes. So we're awarding one teacher with a full-size Water Rangers water quality test kit. We put together like an adventure backpack for one elementary student with like rubber boots and a portable microscope and some field guides and that sort of stuff. And we drew that student. We drew the teacher from all of the registered teachers. We drew the student from our Kahoot participants. So we hosted a live Kahoot, which is basically just like a trivia game where all the students can log on either their phone or their computer and answer trivia questions. So we drew the name for that from all the participants, and then we're awarding a prize to the high school student who had the most creative video submission, which we were excited to try and encourage registrations and stuff through a couple little prizes. So overall, we think that it went really well. We're pretty happy with our very first full day live stream event. I think we streamed from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So a pretty full day for us. And our plan is actually hopefully in the future to take what we've learned and also add a live stream component to our in-person festivals, because normally we're restricted to the number of people that can actually be at our venues. We're usually about 250 participants for each day for the 3 festivals that we normally do. So we're hoping, because we normally have more teachers than that interested in participating in the festival and we have to turn away teachers because we're at capacity, we'd like to add this as an option for any like overflow classes for in-person festivals in the future. So I think overall, big success.
Thank you. Any questions? Rhonda, there was something in the supplemental. Can you put up on screen? Perhaps the picture with the live stream feed would be a good one to show how the day was. There's a photograph for everybody. So I do have a question for you though. Do you think going forward that going virtual has, or the live stream has provided many more opportunities, as you indicated, to bring a wider field of education through the River Institute and the Water Festival?
Yeah, I think in general, the virtual component, as much as we struggled when the pandemic first hit to change all of our education materials over to a virtual format, now that those resources are there, we're able to expand our reach so much more. So for Water Festival, obviously, because it's for Eastern Ontario, we're not reaching more schools in terms of distance, but it is allowing us to have more students per day than we normally would. And in general, at the River Institute, we've actually added a new project called Outside In Canada. So Outside In was our online education that we started as a result of COVID-19. So now we've added Canada, and in the fall, we'll actually be having a classroom from BC partnering up with a classroom from Ontario, and the students from those two classes will be sharing their local ecosystems with each other. And we think that's super cool, and we're super excited to be able to have that reach now. And we've actually even had Brian Hickey did a BATS presentation to a classroom in Dubai, and we did a little bit of a partnership with a classroom in Dubai too. So yeah, I think it's definitely like helped us grow a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, with challenge comes opportunity, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Bill, I see your fingers up.
Thank you very much. I would like to, Madam Chair, say congratulations and thanks to the staff for their inventiveness and their ability to find a way to get the information out to people. And hearing the comments, I also agree that virtual presentations are not only a probability, but probably will be for sure as we move into the future. And that's one of the things you were asked to look at comments on, and whether we have more virtual meetings or not. But I think the staff has risen to a great height to present and develop, and it sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Russell?
Yes, you used the comment Eastern Ontario where you were presenting. Could you define what you regard as Eastern Ontario?
Yeah, so I say Eastern Ontario because I believe there's about 20 other children's water festivals in the province. Peterborough, Perth, the other one that's outside of London, Niagara, like there's a whole bunch of different ones. I believe our boundary extends to kind of the Brockville area and then up. And up to Ottawa. There's another festival in Pembroke, so we don't try and go above schools in Ottawa, and that's kind of our boundary. And we do the 3 festivals, so the festival in Cornwall, the festival in Spencerville, and then the festival in Castleman. And we kind of divvy up the schools into those 3 areas. So the majority of the French schools go to the Castleman Festival, but the festival in Cornwall, we have 1 day in French and 1 day in English. So the Cornwall area French schools usually go to that festival, and the English ones go there. And then the students, I would say from Morrisburg to Brockville and kind of north are the students that are invited to the Spencerville Festival.
Any other questions? Right. Thank you very much for the update.
So, Madam Chair, I will ask for a resolution because this is the final report. So the resolution will be that the committee approve the final report for the Eastern Ontario Children's Water Festival 2021 and approve payment in the amount of $2,031.
Okay. So I'm looking Danielle and then Doug. Any other questions?
Worth every penny.
All right, I agree. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Well, we'll look forward to more applications in the coming future from the Water Festival. Well worth it. Thank you. Education is always great.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. All right. Everybody's probably like mine, stomachs are growling, and we really haven't taken a bio break. We've just sort of plunged through this morning. So what's next?
Just the next meeting date is September 13th at 9 a.m. I was going to ask for feedback virtual versus in person, but just given the time and grumbling stomachs, I would say that if you have some comments that you would like to share on your experiences over the last year with the virtual meetings, what you liked, what you didn't like, kind of approach you'd like to see moving forward as we hopefully find ourselves rolling out of this pandemic. So feel free to share those with me If I don't get a lot of feedback, I'll bring it back to September for the question. What we've heard from other committees is that they would be interested in like a hybrid approach, where maybe there are 1 or 2 meetings per year that are virtual, perhaps in the winter when weather is less friendly to travel in might be an option. So feel free to send me an email or give me a call if you have feedback before September, and I'll bring that question back to you in September.
Okay, just a quick, for me, I've been grateful this past year or so to be able to do virtual. Otherwise, I think I would have not been able to commit to the committee during the past year because of COVID and my medical situation. So it certainly has made it easier for me to stay involved, and I appreciate that. And going forward, I'd like to always have maybe the opportunity to be in person. I like to have that camaraderie and the discussions we have before and after meetings that usually get some more insight than you do during meetings on what people are really truly thinking. So I like that idea. But if someone say, you know, I can't be in attendance for some reason, but can chime in virtually, so that's some sort of hybrid that, you know, will be some people in person and some online. So thoughts from me anyway. So please let Rhonda know your thoughts too going forward. So we're looking.
So moved.
All right. Thanks, Alan, for joining us today. And thanks, everyone. And we'll see you in September, if not before.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Jackie.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Have a great day, all.
Rhonda, can you stay on for a bit?
Yeah, I can. Just making sure our live stream is off. Okay.